What do you think that will be this season, and what do you think that will be as the next step continues for this Cubs organization? What will be the identity?
I think things change, right, as they sign players or players come up from the system, but I think they've made the intention clear on that. I think it's going to be a pitching and defense first team. Obviously you're going to have to score runs at some point, but I think, we think back to like that last core of players and the team that won the World Series in 2016. They were elite at so many things, but I think when we think back on it quickly, you would, I think, say their offense, that group of hitters, Baez, Bryant, Rizzo, like that was kind of if you had to pick one identifying quality, I think that's what you would land on. I think that they're building this team to be a pitching and defense first organization. Dansby signals that. If they lock up Nico, which, we'll talk about at some point, that would signal that. PCA is going to fit into that, and they've just put so much into developing their own pitchers and trying to be an organization that's better at that. I think that's what it's going to be, those two things.
Yeah, I mean, you sit here and complain about how they've managed their money over the last few years, but at the end of the day, as we go into this year, they did spend significant money, and the team is better. And I do like the fact that they are trying to build within on the pitching side, because that was something that they couldn't do for a couple decades, it felt like,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I like the direction of the organization for sure, even though there's still things I could sit here and complain about. But, we'll see how far the pitching can take them. The defense will always be there, I think, barring injury, of course. But at the end of the day, they got to find a way to score runs. And, listen, they brought in Dustin Kelly, former Dodgers guy. To me, that's obviously a big question, and I'm cautiously optimistic. So I'm not even asking them to be top 10 in hitting or whatever, in hitting categories. I'm asking them to be in the middle of the pack when it comes to hitting around the league. And if they do that and get the pitching and the defense, then yeah, you're feeling pretty good about this team probably.
So
They spent $325 million in the offseason behind the Yankees, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Padres. So fifth in Major League Baseball for spending this offseason. I would say this. We're talking about identity, right? This season for me, the identity is prove it. If you're talking about just one season, it's prove it. And it's prove it for all those veterans that are on prove it deals. The Cody Bellingers, whether it's Boxberger, whether it's Mancini, whether it's Hosmer, all of those veteran guys that they added on short-term deals, Fulmer, prove it deals, really Bellinger, Mancini, some of those guys, because the Cubs will go as far as those veteran guys will carry them.
Yeah.
If they're able to bounce back, this is a good Cubs team. If half of them are able to bounce back, this could be a very good Cubs team. If none of them bounce back, it's going to be slightly better than last year.
Yeah.
And that's assuming some things. Now, for me, the identity moving forward is what PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, their top prospect, according to some, talked about very recently, saying, all I have to do is look at Nico and Dansby and the way they go about things. Like the young guys, the prospects have already picked up on what the identity of this team will be going forward. It's Dansby Swanson at his opening press conference saying, I'm playing every game. You're not taking me out of the lineup. I'm going to be good enough and healthy enough that you're going to play me every day. And then you have Nico saying, I could have been a Gold Glover. I was the best guy on this team last year, and I'm willing to change positions and go to second base. Even though in the long run, playing second base probably won't earn me as much money as being a star shortstop would be, I'm willing to make that move because winning is what I want to do. So that's the identity they're trying to build throughout the organization. Watch Nico, watch Dansby, follow their lead. So I think there's two different identities that you might see coming out of potentially just this season.
Yeah, well, and so like just scrolling through Twitter now, I'm looking from Cubs.com's Jordan Bastian. He posted a quote from Marcus Stroman about Dansby and Nico that I think fits this conversation. And Marcus said, who, like HOOO, you know, Dansby and Nico, that Sanker gonna be Sankin. And, like, Mark, he's got his sunglasses on. It's cooler coming from him than me, right?
Yeah.
Can we just replay that moment?
Well, I'm, like, reading it. Like, how do you
He
pronounce
drinks
this?
Sanka?
Yeah,
my
there
grandparents used to drink that.
I think that really fits because, like, that is the identity, right? Like, you've built this middle of the infield defense, and your pitchers are going to attack based on that, right? Like, he's saying, I'm going to throw that sinker because these guys are going to scoop this up. Like, that's what you've built here. You've built an identity that is on multiple sides of the ball, and it kind of all comes together for a cohesive strategy.
Maybe that should have been their slogan. At the last minute, maybe they should have...
Sanker gonna be sankin'?
Sanker gonna be sankin'. That could have been their slogan. They could have just redone the video.
Well, I think just, whoo, Dansby and Nico. That would have been a good
Lawrence
one.
was better. Yeah, there it is.
How about Double Trouble?
Yeah. Double Dare, Mark Summers.
Double Down.
My wife was just listening to the Mark Maron podcast, and she's like, yeah, Mark Summers was on. I'm like, from Double Dare, Mark Summers? Like, why is he relevant to me? What is he promoting right now?
Is that the same show that had the green slime?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the green slime. Anyways, I think he's onto something as a guy that's trying to become a leader, Dansby, in the clubhouse. Number one, Jed in his press conference talked about how Dansby, right out of the gate, started calling everybody. He didn't just take the big check and show up late. He was there. He's there early. He called guys instantly, and he showed up to Cubs convention. Three good moves in my mind, for what he's trying to do. And so he's sort of set that stage. And I think we've talked about it before. There may be multiple leaders, and there should be probably on a good team. Unless you have a Hall of Fame player that is absolutely the guy that everybody's going to listen to, when you're trying to build something ground up, the best way to go about it is to have multiple voices that are on a similar page. They may have different messages coming from their different backgrounds, but if you have them all going in the same direction, we're going to play hard. We're going to do it the right way. We're not taking shortcuts. We're going to be here early. That's the right message for an organization.